There are people in this world who were never meant to fit in. They move differently. They carry something ancient, a divine code, etched into their very soul. They walk into rooms and shift atmospheres without saying a word. Not because they're loud, but because they're marked by heaven, feared by darkness. These are the chosen ones. They've been laughed at, misunderstood, pushed aside, attacked without cause. But every time, they rise again, stronger, quieter, more unstoppable. Because there's a truth most people ignore. Messing with a chosen one is not just a mistake, it's a spiritual provocation. And the universe does not take it lightly. You see, there is a sacred order to things, and when someone crosses a divine boundary, something shifts, something awakens, and that person begins a journey they were never prepared for. In this video, you're going to uncover 9 brutal, irreversible consequences that fall upon anyone who tries to harm someone protected by divine law. These aren't theories, they're spiritual facts. This is your warning, this is your clarity, this is your confirmation. So don't blink, don't skip a second, because what you're about to hear could change everything. And if your spirit already feels what's coming, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment 99 below. Why 99? Because in spiritual alignment, 99 means divine justice is near, that the unseen is about to be revealed, that what was stolen is coming back multiplied. Ready? Let's go deeper. 1. The shift happens instantly, the moment someone dares to harm a chosen one. The air around them changes, not in days, not in weeks, instantly. It's like flipping a hidden switch in the universe. And suddenly, the flow of blessings begins to reverse. What once came easily starts slipping through their fingers. Plans collapse without warning. Doors that were wide open slam shut. People who once supported them turn distant, cold, or simply disappear. Nothing feels stable anymore, because they didn't just hurt a person. They disrupted a divine equation. The chosen one is surrounded by a sacred alignment, a spiritual architecture that holds unseen balance. And when someone disturbs that design, everything starts falling out of place. At first, they don't understand why. Why are things going wrong? Why does it feel like the ground is shaking beneath their feet? But what they don't realize is that they've triggered a system of immediate spiritual feedback. This is not karma waiting for its turn. This is the divine correcting the imbalance in real time. It's not punishment, it's protection in motion, because a chosen one never walks alone. They move with ancestors, with angels, with the very breath of divine will behind them. So when someone touches them with hate, jealousy, or deception, they're not just crossing a line. They're tearing into sacred space. And the universe moves swiftly to repair the tear. And here's the twist. It doesn't matter if the chosen one says a single word. They don't need revenge. They don't need proof. The shift already started the moment they were wronged. And by the time the one who caused it begins to realize, it's already too late. But what happens after the shift, what unfolds next, is even more terrifying. Keep watching. 2. The truth explodes into light. You can lie to the world. You can even lie to yourself. But when you lie to a chosen one, you're lying in the presence of truth itself. Because chosen ones don't need to speak to expose deception. Their very presence disrupts illusions. Their energy carries a vibration so pure, so aligned with divine clarity, that it naturally pushes falsehoods into the light. They don't chase drama. They don't dig for secrets. They simply exist, and in doing so, they force everything around them to reveal its true form. It starts subtly. The manipulator gets sloppy. Their mask begins to slip. People around them start asking questions. Strange coincidences begin piling up. And suddenly, the web of lies begins to unravel. Not by force, but by design. Because when a chosen one is targeted by betrayal or deceit, the universe itself takes the case. It becomes prosecutor, witness, and judge. And the trial? Public. Undeniable. Devastating. The one who thought they had the upper hand, who thought their secrets were safe, ends up standing exposed in front of the very people they tried to manipulate. Friendships fall apart. Reputations shatter. Trust is burned to ashes. Not because the chosen one wanted revenge, but because truth cannot coexist with them in silence. That's why people who live behind masks always feel uncomfortable around the chosen. Something inside them trembles. Because their soul knows. This person sees me, even if they say nothing. And here's the part they never expect. The chosen one rarely confronts them. They don't need to. The energy does it all. Silently, powerfully, perfectly timed. But the real question is, what happens when the manipulator refuses to change, even after being exposed? That is when the darkness truly begins to devour them. And it's coming faster than they think. Stay close. What's next will shock you. 3. Energy drain reverses. There's a silent danger most people never see coming. It begins with envy, masked as admiration, curiosity disguised as connection. And slowly, it becomes a hunger, a desire to be near the chosen one, not to learn, but to leech. Because the light of a chosen one is magnetic. It heals, it comforts, it awakens. But to those with hidden agendas, it also tempts. They think, if I get close enough, maybe I can absorb their power. Maybe I can use their light to fill my emptiness. So they attach, they pretend, they drain. But what they don't understand is that divine energy is not for consumption. It's for connection. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be tricked. And when someone tries to feed off it without permission, the current reverses. Suddenly, the leech becomes the one who's being drained. Their energy fades, their mind fogs. They spiral, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Why? Because the frequency of a chosen one burns through deception. It doesn't nourish darkness. It exposes it. It shakes it. And eventually, it destroys it. What they hoped would fill them, empties them. What they tried to possess, shatters them. The glow they wanted to mimic now haunts them in silence. It's not a curse. It's a mirror, a sacred law of energy. You cannot align with what you try to exploit. You cannot hold what you secretly resent. And so, they fade. Not because the chosen one wished them harm, but because the divine won't allow its light to be weaponized. But here's the twist. Some still don't learn. They try harder. They go deeper. And that leads them straight into the next consequence, where karma doesn't whisper, it roars, and it's coming. 4. Karma knocks loudly. There's a force older than time, a law written into the fabric of existence. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't ask for permission. It simply waits until balance is broken. And when someone interferes with the journey of a chosen one, that law is activated. Its name is karma. But not the kind people joke about. Not the vague idea of what goes around comes around. This karma is precise, surgical, relentless. Because the chosen one doesn't walk alone. They move in alignment, with purpose, with grace, with divine timing. And anyone who throws chaos into that alignment doesn't just create a mess, they create a reaction. At first it feels like bad luck. A deal falls through. A relationship crumbles. A diagnosis appears out of nowhere. Peace turns into panic. Rest becomes restlessness. But this isn't random. It's a correction, a divine recalibration. Because when you block a chosen one's mission, you're not just challenging them. You're resisting something far greater, the will of the Most High. And so, The universe begins to unravel what they built in illusion, not to destroy them, but to wake them up. But here's what's truly chilling. Karma knows where to strike, not just what hurts, but what teaches. It touches the places they thought were untouchable. Their pride, their image, their relationships, their inner peace. And the longer they ignore the lesson, the deeper the cracks become. Because the path of a chosen one is sacred, divinely protected, and those who attempt to sabotage it eventually find themselves trapped in a storm they summoned. But the most dangerous part? Some don't even realize what they triggered. They keep pushing, they keep provoking, and without knowing, they walk straight into the most haunting consequence of all. Brace yourself. It only gets heavier from here. 5. Guilt and regret. Haunt them. Sometimes, the worst punishment isn't what happens on the outside. It's what begins to rot on the inside. They thought they won. They walked away smiling, boasting, believing they got the upper hand. But the universe doesn't settle scores the way humans do. It doesn't always strike with lightning. Sometimes, it whispers. A whisper that grows louder. A weight that sinks deeper. A voice inside them that won't shut off no matter how loud the world claps. It starts small. Sleepless nights. Moments of anxiety they can't explain. A sudden emptiness in the middle of celebration. Because even if they appear victorious, their soul knows better. They didn't just hurt someone. They wounded a soul marked by God. And the spirit remembers. So they tried to distract themselves. They buy more, party harder, surround themselves with noise, but nothing sticks. The taste of joy goes bland. The things they used to love now feel hollow. Because when you violate something sacred, it leaves a stain no trophy can cover. You feel it when you're alone. You feel it when no one's watching. You feel it when you realize you didn't just push someone away. You pushed your own spirit out of alignment. They may still smile in the mirror, but behind their eyes, there's a fracture, and it deepens with every passing day. And here's the twist. That regret, it doesn't go away with time. It intensifies, because it's not just a memory. It's a wound that bleeds in silence. They may have won a moment, but they lost something eternal, a connection they'll never find again, a light they'll never touch again, a peace that will never fully return. And that's when they begin to realize what they tried to destroy was the very thing sent to heal them. But by then, the chosen one is already gone, elevated, protected, untouchable. And the next consequence waiting for them won't just break the soul. It breaks the path forward. You'll see. 6. They reject their own blessing. Isn't it strange how people sometimes destroy the very thing sent to save them? See, what most don't realize is the chosen one didn't show up in their life by chance. They were sent. A divine appointment. Not to harm, not to compete, but to bless. To bring clarity where there was confusion. To offer love where there was lack. To unlock doors no one else could even find. But instead of recognizing the gift, they resented the light. They compared. They competed. They betrayed. And in doing so, they slammed shut the very portal that heaven opened just for them. This is the great irony. They weren't just attacking a person. They were rejecting their own elevation, the support they prayed for, the healing they needed, the breakthrough they were waiting on. And now, it's gone. The presence that once brought warmth now feels like a distant memory. The alignment they once had, replaced by a strange emptiness they can't name. They meet new people, they chase new highs, but nothing hits the same. Because the blessing wasn't generic, it was tailor-made, carried by the chosen one. And once lost, it doesn't return easily. They may try to recreate it, reignite what once was. But the energy is different. The glow is gone, because that connection wasn't just emotional. It was spiritual. And when you violate a spiritual bond, you don't just lose a person, you lose the path. Now they walk through life with a haunting sense of almost happy, almost fulfilled, almost free, but never quite there. And what's coming next isn't just a void, it's a spiritual standstill. Because when you reject what was sent to bless you, you don't just pause your progress, you freeze the future. And in the next chapter, that freeze becomes painfully, undeniably real. 7. Their life spiritually freezes. Something strange begins to happen. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep, subtle, undeniable. Life just stops moving. Opportunities dry up. Relationships lose their spark. Spiritual practices, once full of meaning, start to feel empty. Even the prayers echo into silence. It's not failure. It's not coincidence. It's a freeze, a divine suspension. Because when someone interferes with a chosen one's mission, the universe doesn't strike in rage. It responds with stillness. No more forward movement, no more divine favor. It's like time pauses around them, waiting for one thing: recognition, repentance, realignment. Until then, everything they touch feels stuck, heavy, blocked. The things that once came easily now feel impossible. They try to force outcomes, but the doors stay closed. They try to manifest, but nothing manifests. They try to run, but there's nowhere left to go. Because the freeze isn't external, it's internal. It's their soul calling for correction. A divine intervention whispering, something sacred was broken, and nothing will move until it's restored. This isn't karma. This isn't revenge. This is spiritual law in action. When you interfere with someone walking under divine instruction, you don't just challenge their path. You interrupt the higher plan of the Creator. And when that happens, heaven doesn't retaliate with fire. It withdraws its wind. And without that wind, you can't sail forward. You drift, you circle, you stall, and the longer you resist, the deeper the ice gets. But what happens when the freeze turns into a spiritual debt? A weight that can't be prayed away, only paid. The next consequence, it doesn't just pause the journey, it demands a cost. 8. The universe sends the bill. The universe has a memory, not just of actions, but of intentions, of motives whispered in secret, of thoughts spoken only in the dark. And when someone targets a chosen one, when they betray, sabotage, or slander someone walking in divine purpose, they activate something ancient, a spiritual invoice, filed, stamped, and waiting. Because nothing goes unnoticed in the realm of divine order. You see, people think they've escaped justice when no lightning strikes. They think silence means safety. But the universe doesn't react on impulse. It waits for the perfect moment. And when the bill arrives, it doesn't knock politely. It crashes through the door. The same energy they released returns to them, stronger, sharper, heavier. Except now, it's multiplied. They feel the sting of every word they twisted, the weight of every door they tried to shut. The chaos they wished on someone else now camps at their doorstep. And what makes it worse? They can't trace the cause. They just know. Everything is unraveling. Meanwhile, the chosen one, the one they tried to bury, is rising, silently, gracefully, untouchably. Because the law of divine justice isn't loud, it's exact. It doesn't seek revenge. It restores order. And when that restoration begins, the ones who caused harm don't just suffer. They learn, painfully, personally, permanently. Because they're not being punished by the chosen one. They're being taught by their own reflection, by the very darkness they unleashed. But there's one final consequence, one that leaves no doubt, not in the spirit, not in the mind, not in the soul. And once it happens, There's no turning back. Get ready. 9. They realize who they messed with, too late. At first, they laughed, dismissed you, mocked your silence, undervalued your presence. They thought you were ordinary, replaceable, disposable. But eventually, they see it. The glow they tried to ignore now blinds them. The power they tried to control now surpasses them. The divine mission they tried to block now unfolds without them, and it hits, not like a slap, but like a revelation that splits the soul in half. They didn't just mess with someone, they interfered with something holy, something chosen, something untouchable. And the worst part? They realize it too late, because while they were focused on tearing you down, you were being elevated. While they whispered lies in the dark, heaven was rewriting your story in light. And now, you don't just rise, you ascend, past the drama, past the noise, past them. But here's what haunts them most. They could have been part of your story. They could have walked beside a rising star. They could have received the overflow of your blessing. But instead, they chose ego. They chose pride. They chose war against someone who never came to fight. And now they sit in silence, not just watching your success, but feeling the weight of their own loss. Not the loss of a relationship, but the loss of access to something sacred. They now know who you are. They now see what you carry. And they now understand that trying to dim your light only revealed how dark their own spirit truly was. But it's irreversible. They can't undo what they did. They can't rewind time. They can't unsee the truth. All they can do is watch you rise, untouched, unbothered, unbreakable, chosen. And just when they think the lesson is over, you speak your truth, and the entire atmosphere shifts again. And that moment is coming next. Not everyone will understand what you carry. Not everyone will see the fire inside you for what it is: sacred, ancient, divine. Some will fear it, some will try to control it, and others will try to extinguish it. But here's the truth. No one told you loud enough. You were never meant to be understood by this world. Because you weren't made for this world. You were sent to it. The spiritual warfare you faced, the betrayal that nearly broke you, the loneliness that made you question everything. It wasn't random. It was recognition. The enemy saw your light before you did. That's why the attack started early. That's why you were targeted by people you trusted. That's why you were left out, talked down, misunderstood, rejected, and overlooked. But in heaven's blueprint, delay is not denial. Isolation is not punishment. It's preparation. Every scar on your soul, marked by purpose. Every time they underestimated you, calculated for your unveiling. Every setback, every closed door, every tear cried in silence, was secretly watering the soil where your destiny would bloom. You see, when people mess with a chosen one, they never realize the level of protection they're stepping into. They think they're hurting a person, but they're trespassing into a realm guarded by the divine. You're not just a soul on a journey. You're a key to generational healing, a bridge between dimensions, a voice carrying codes that activate others. You are the interruption to cycles of pain, shame, and fear. And because of that, you will always walk through fire, but never be consumed by it. You will be thrown into pits, only to rise like Joseph with a crown. You will be betrayed like Jesus, but resurrected with greater power. This is why your path was never easy. Not because you were weak, but because you were chosen to walk a narrow road. And let me say this clearly. Those who tried to ruin you failed. Because they couldn't destroy what they didn't create. They couldn't touch what was divinely armored. They couldn't access what was spiritually encrypted. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them mock, gossip, or pretend you were never the one. Because they didn't just come against a human being, they challenged the force that sent you. And no one challenges heaven. and walks away unchanged. So now I ask you,